But I want to switch focus for just a minute because we talked about Hunter at the beginning of the show. So here's my take on this, and then I'll have you guys tell me. Initially, Hunter was doing all these stunts, right? And the reporting was that the White House was not in the loop about what Hunter was doing. These press conferences showing up on the Hill and the little stunt about going to the committee hearing. I kind of believe it. I think that Hunter wanted to show that he could do his own. He always felt like it was one of those movies where he was like, Dad, look, see, I can help too. I can do it myself. And
like
what
Fredo
happened,
and The Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing that the light bulb went off for me. Abby Lowell, right after the House said, all right, cute stunt, Hunter, we're sending a letter and we're gonna basically now move to the contempt phase of this. If there was a vote to hold Hunter in contempt, it would pass. And then it would go to the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland would have to decide to enforce that subpoena or not. Now, a lot of people say, well, of course he's not going to do it. But here's the problem. He held Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, all of those people who didn't want to get held, who didn't want to comply with the subpoenas to a BS committee. Let's face it, that wasn't a real congressional committee. They went after him, and Joe Biden was very vocal. You need to comply with these subpoenas, and we need to I think that Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's attorney, realized that you will be putting the Justice Department in a very bad situation. Joe Biden's on record on this. Merrick Garland's got to do something. And you better find a way to weasel yourself back into that committee because we don't want to deal with the political consequences of the stupid place you just put us. Maybe that's too pie in the sky, Ben, and it's too, but I think that the Biden White House back channeled to them, hey, cute stunt guys, you're going to screw us now. So again, getting back to my analogy, it was like the kid was like, see, Dad, I could do a great job. And then all of a sudden they were like, yeah, and now you've mortgaged the house or whatever. But Ben, is that too much of is that too far of a bridge too far? Or do you think that these guys actually thought it through and said, you morons, you screwed it up now?
I don't think it's too pie in the sky at all. He already did damage the White House in one fundamental way, and the White House did it to itself also. But the day that he pulled the first stunt where he defied the subpoenas and then went out of arm's reach of the sergeant at arms, so he was on the Senate side outside the Capitol delivering his speech with Eric Swalwell behind him. And by the way, who knows if Swalwell is implicated in obstructing Congress essentially by being there and advising him. But remember, Karine Jean-Pierre said essentially that the White House had foreknowledge of what he was going to do. That in turn led House Republicans, impeachment investigators, to expand the scope of their impeachment inquiry to encompass whether or not the president essentially conspired with Hunter Biden to obstruct Congress. So they already did damage the White House in one fundamental way. More broadly, to your point, even setting aside the bind that the DOJ gets put in this, to the extent the DOJ cares about its reputation at this point vis-a-vis the Bidens, is the notion that Hunter Biden, of course, was the bagman for an international influence peddling scheme that was premised on Joe Biden as the sole asset. The more Hunter Biden is out there being aggressive, the more it implicates Joe Biden. What would an advisor, Abby Lowell himself is aggressive, it seems like, by nature. So maybe that fits with Hunter Biden. But like you said, he is smart. Is it smart to put Hunter Biden out there repeatedly? Is this the guy you want as the face of the defense for the Biden family? I think ultimately not. And Hunter Biden may want to make himself the victim and a martyr and look at the Republicans that are going on a witch hunt against me because they don't like my father. I don't think ultimately that wins and that plays out in their favor in the end, the Hunter Biden as victim. So I agree with you. I think they realize that this is not the shrewd play. They do want to extend this process as long as possible. So now Abby Lowell comes back hat in hand and says, well, now it's a legitimate impeachment inquiry because it's actually been voted upon by the full House. And now you can go ahead with your subpoenas, do whatever you want. Let me just note also to your point about the DOJ, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden dynamic. Obviously, one part of the impeachment is the DOJ being on trial for appearance-wise obstructing and maybe actually obstructing essentially the investigation and prosecution of several Bidens, including Hunter. Right now, you have Hunter Biden fighting the DOJ in Delaware and soon in California as well, we saw a bunch of filings lodged by the DOJ this week to dismiss these efforts by Hunter Biden to get the prosecution of him dismissed in Delaware. And it is remarkable. If you go into the filings, most people, the big takeaway news item was, look, here's the DOJ talking about how they had Hunter Biden's laptop and they knew it was real back in 2019. Maybe the more interesting part of these filings, and I wrote about this several weeks back, Hunter is trying to get the DOJ to kick the case. He's saying that they are engaged in a selective and vindictive prosecution against him. Why? He says House Republicans have weaponized the Biden DOJ against him to take him down. And so the DOJ has to twist itself in knots because it tanked the Biden investigation and prosecution to say, actually, we are dealing with you on the merits. And actually, we are fair and square dealing with you just like any other American citizen. So it's a fascinating dynamic. Hunter Biden attacking the DOJ's legitimacy and credibility. The DOJ trying to say it's not political when it's only here because it was political, because the sham plea deal collapsed in the first place.
And as a reminder, the DOJ in the filings this week admitted that it was Hunter Biden's laptop. He did drop it off. I mean, that's a whole nother story about how many people need to apologize.